Okay, good. All right, assalamu alaikum, everyone. Good evening. Thank you for coming to another session of the Azure Qatar Community. So, today's guest, I don't think she needs an introduction because this is her third time here with us. Thank you, Dr. Estera. Every time you come to Doha, you welcome here at the community by sharing your insights. So, for those of you who don't know Dr. Estera, she currently is the CTO of Clouds on Mars, which she can talk more about later. They're one of our Microsoft partner companies, and they do a lot of great work in the area of data and AI here in the region and also in Europe. And she is a doctor, so she is a PhD holder, and she's done a great amount of research in regards to machine learning and AI. And she's also ex-Microsoft, so she did work on the product team, working on Azure Data Platform. So it's great to have you here, Dr. Estera. She's going to talk all about, we keep hearing a lot about AI and agents and all this hype, but for a lot of you, especially that maybe have worked on such projects, you would know that one of the hardest part is about securing AI and having a layer of governance around it, especially when you think about scaling it within an enterprise. So she's going to talk a little bit about a framework around this and some practical examples. And just a note for those of you who's your first time at the community, we do these sessions every week. We have another session next Tuesday, actually, not on Wednesday. We're going to post about it. So if you're not part of the community LinkedIn group or the WhatsApp group, just meet me, Hamza or Fatah, after the session, and then we'll add you. All right, Dr. Estera, you can use the microphone. Yeah. Okay.
It's working when you enable that tool.
Yes. Work. For those of you we do this thing at the end where Dr. Estera will ask you questions, and if you answer, you get a cool goodie bag. So be attentive so you're able to answer this question.
Okay, so it's my third time here. Super big pleasure for me to continue the discussion. As we started, the first talk was about Microsoft Fabric. The second was a continuation of Microsoft Fabric, how to get data from different sources, from SAP, from databases, through mirroring, through shortcuts. Later on, we also chatted how important is data engineering, meaning that without good structured data, which are landing in ideally delta tables on top of one lake inside Fabric, it's hard to talk about AI. But right now, we are continuing this journey as it's very important. Even today, I've met with one customer here in Doha when we chatted about what the unified data platform is giving you. And for people who are doing research, who are doing some data analytics, it's how to explain for them what AI can do. Because what we get used to right now with the reality, and now I will jump in, it will refresh in a second. And I want to start with the brief history of artificial intelligence to just one thing that I hope you will remember out of the session is about the history, meaning that we are talking about AI every lecture and the conversations, studying, everything is about AI. But AI is not new for us. It started in 1956 as a concept of artificial intelligence. So a field of computer science building machines that can replicate or exceed human intelligence. So it is with us, how many years? 70? So again, AI is not new. Later on, in 1997, we got the concept of machine learning. So before, maths and stats were progressing. You can remember there were some times where people didn't have the calculators and they were doing some adding and so on, all of the calculations on a piece of paper, none of the PC. But later on, yes, of course, because it was natural, we started to have a subset of artificial intelligence called machine learning. So machines that learn from data and improve to make decisions and predictions. So this is the first point when we defined that machine learning is about learning from the data, but subset of artificial intelligence. Later on, we have, and here not so a long time ago, we are having the deep learning, which is one of my favorite discipline, as it reflects how the human beings, our brain is working. So our neural networks or network in the context of the PC, where we try to simulate the neural networks of our brain, or neurons of our brain, to the computer. And here, deep learning is a subset of machine learning. That's why we started with artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning, 2017. This is the time when CNNs, YOLO, Masker CNN, different models, unit, are created for computer vision. When the Intel, Microsoft, and other companies are creating models which can see, think, and act based on the data, still based on the data. And here we are landing in 2022 with Gen AI. And finally, this is the history of artificial intelligence. Gen AI, I think, like, raise a hand if you ever use ChatGPT or Claude. There is no person, as of now, for sure in IT, who would not do it because of many times we are starting to use those tools to accelerate the deliverables for us. And companies are kind of encouraging us, but at the last stage of the framework of applying AI, we are, as people in the past, using calculators. We are using those tools because it's natural for us. That's why we are landing and going through the history of AI to mention and have a reflection about the history, that right now, if we talk about AI, one, lessons learned. This is the history. And second, if you are defining a project about AI and talking about a lecture about AI, the next question, please always ask, what do you mean? It's about machine learning, deep learning, or Gen AI? And today, I would love to chat about Gen AI. Why? Because it's the most, as at this point in time, popular, frequent, common. Why? Because it moves the needle of productivity and efficiency in the places we are working. Even though machine learning and deep learning, for me, are the most beautiful areas where you can truly have a system that is doing the decision about whether someone has a tumor or not, whether there is a tumor progression, whether we should, and what kind of the treatment we should apply. So very precise models for machines. So if you are driving Tesla or any other electric car and you have a lane control, what is inside? Deep learning, machine learning, or Gen AI? Deep learning, yes, for sure, like either deep learning or machine learning, because Gen AI, not so much, we don't need a text, and there can be hallucinations that we are going to chat about. But today we will focus on about the Gen AI, because once we started to have the ChatGPT, OpenAI, publishing the chat experience, which is helping us to produce the text, to get the summarization, and to work with the text. Later on, we started to adapt that is a great way to talk with the data. So we started with chat experience, Q&As. Later on, we evolved to the experience of a RAG system. So yes, we have thousands of PDFs. No one wants to read them. And we create the RAG system, which is allowing us to chat with the files, which is the next stage. But then later on, what was happening? So chatting, RAG systems, and then both of them, plus making the actions. So not only getting the experience of, I ask the question and I get the wise answer, but progressing into the stage of do something for me. Go to the website, scrub the data, send the email, make some action. And once we are in this stage of it's not only about asking, but about making the actions. So once you rely on something which is making an action, what's the name of the tool? Application, this is normal software application. So my point here is that Gen AI applications, which we are calling agents, which are doing something, are not different from the normal applications. The only difference is that behind, in the normal applications, we are going to have if-else, so it's very predictive. What is the result? Whereas with Gen AI, we are going to have an ability that sky's the limit, what we'll get from the model, because there is a model. And we can start controlling and we are going to talk about that, how to start controlling the model to be sure that it's not returning the results that we don't want to. But this is the main purpose, meaning that the Gen AI applications, AI agents with Gen AI, we should treat very similar to the normal applications. And how the normal applications are communicating. Usually through the internet, through REST APIs, exactly, through REST APIs. REST APIs are coming with some beautiful pros and cons, not so beautiful cons, right? What are the cons? The limits, throttling, making sure that the service is scaling up and down. So I would say that if you're coming, and please raise a hand, who is coming from the software engineering world or app development? So today's talk, I would say that it's much more related for people coming from the software engineering application side of the world rather than from data. Because the previous talks were about data, because we need data to fuel AI, to fuel the models. But once the model is fueled, we are talking about making this car driving, governing that, and making sure that we can fully control it, stopped, and also check the driving license of the person that is inside it. So the same pillars as we have for applications, normal applications, will apply for Gen AI agents. Now, here, 4 questions, and please answer them in your head. And I will ask one person to reply one by one. So the first question, how many AI agents does your organization right now, run right now? How many? 5? 7? So what is, now would love to chat, what is AI agent? We are talking about the Copilot as in total, or Copilot with ability to create your own agent, research agent, specific agent with specific instruction, or a skill inside Claude or ChatGPT or any other tool. So it's easier to calculate how many different systems in your company you have. It's easier to calculate how many different applications, instances of applications you have. But we are in a stage of it should be easy. And it's the point where, because we allowed and democratized ChatGPT to the form of Copilot, to the form of different chatting experience and working with files experiences, it's so easy access for us outside of work that we got used to that. And who is not using right now AI at work? We are. And because of it, companies need to start to govern that. How the process is starting? At least calculate what's the thumb number, t-shirt size. You are talking about 500, 5,000, depending on the size of the organization. But then, so how many AI agents does your organization run right now? Lots of. Who owns them? IT or a person that created? Depends. It should be, because we have a corporate laptops, it should be IT. Is IT right now so fast with making sure that the governing process is there? Not so much based on the current experience. So usually, if that's my laptop and it's my ChatGPT, even though, or Copilot, right? Copilot Studio, I have access to Copilot Studio, and I need a specific agent to do, I don't know, some summarization of the research I was doing. So I'm going to create an agent for myself, and every week I'm running that. So who owns them? Me. Even though I created that in the environment of the company I'm working for. And what data can they read? Usually the same data I have access to. But for sure you heard about the cases where, yeah, even in the SharePoints of your organizations. Sometimes if you spend a few hours in the SharePoint of your organization, of your university, you may be very surprised what you will discover, because not everyone is following the proper tagging and proper sharing policies. It's always a nightmare in a way that governance is always perceived as a cost, but without paying the price for this, making sure that the processes, but also from the processes and the technical side, we will expose the data that we shouldn't. And right now, 85% of the data leaks are coming because someone created an agent that somehow got the access to and exposed the data. And the last one, if one leaked a customer record tonight, who gets the call and could they shut it off? Meaning that how to shut it off the agent, but first of all, how to discover, because we started that AI agents are similar to software applications. Software applications are having the years of the best practices, how to record. The request is coming from this URL, this IP address. For AI agents, do we have the same? No, because we just started like a few years ago, 4 years ago, a super new discipline. That's why this field is completely new. Okay, I will proceed. I need 1 second as my network is reconnecting. Okay. Now, how many, what's your gut feeling? How many AI agents will we have in our organizations, more or less? Lots of. Here, the black number. For sure, we'll have a higher number. We can estimate billions of. But in general, this means that we are going to have billions of instances of some code, of some applications that we need to start to govern, because those agents are going to be a little dangerous. Why? Because the agent is having our privileges and can access the data. And what can do something, meaning that if we allowed the agent to have access to our email address, I don't need to steal your privileges. I just need to take the agent. So the moment is now, as majority of the organizations are adopting to it. And now, let's define the agent, just to be super sure that we are not talking about only a model that is providing us answers, but we have a model like, for example, GPT 5.10 or whatever the number is, but we have a model that can, LLM model, large language model. Then we have instructions, usually in Markdown format, which we defined that here is kind of a Markdown is a new programming language. We define our expectations. So we add some capabilities of creating, generating the text, plus instructions. And now this tool is going to have a memory, super similar to what? Cache. Our applications usually have the normal software, websites, different, like normal applications have cache. And cache is about what? About memory. Remembering something so I do not have to rerun it. So we combine model instructions, which is Markdown is a new programming language, or English is the new programming language. Then we are adding the memory. So an agent that is storing the results and having access to them. So we don't have to put the context one by one. And we are talking about a framework of reasoning, based on the reasoning, so based on the kind of a thinking. It's hard to say that machine is thinking, but based on the reasoning, we are talking about acting. Acting meaning that making some decisions. And at the end, looping the decision. Because this is the application or kind of a job we can schedule and run it one more time. Now, jumping in here, just to build a framework, it will take a second to refresh. Skipping the theory here. In the context of Microsoft, Do you use Copilot? Do you have in organization, university Copilot? Please raise a hand. Yes, lots of people. The rest for sure has Claude or something similar. And now, once we get access to those beautiful tools, which are allowing us to work with emails, docs, PowerPoints, everything, just through prompts with inside Microsoft Fabric to generate the data pipelines without coding, because of Copilot, we have a huge help. Then we start to generate more and more. It's natural progression that once you have Copilot, you start to see that you need a Copilot or an agent based on Copilot, which is specialized in something. Because how it's happening, you have a Copilot, you ask the Copilot every Monday, go through my emails, do this and that. So you have a model already. You remember the previous framework. You have a model, then you start to repeat the same instruction every week. So we are landing with realization that there should be a way, plus memory, there should be a way that instead of using general Copilot, I want to create an agent that will do the specific action for me. And once you start to repeat the same prompt over and over again, within the same context of the same context, you will realize that you start to provide some lessons, what to do and when. So you start to provide instructions, how to reply. So naturally, everyone is creating, every one of you who started to play with Copilot, Claude, any agent, any solution that is allowing you to chat with the model, you naturally created the first agent because you provided and you've met all of the expectations. Model, instructions, memory, and then kind of a autonomy, because at the end, the tool was allowing you to make some action. But in the context of Microsoft here, majority of the companies are based on Microsoft. Yeah, please, question, sorry.
In the future, can we implement that in agent also? So we have so in the future, can we put in the agent like authentication, authorization, and accounting also, so we can control him, or that will be a limitation for him?
So here, the same, meaning that agent, because you know the ingredients of agents. Now the agent is going to have its identity. And as a user, you are going to spin off just the instance of it. And agent, a mother of agent, is going to know that it's you who are spinning up this. We are going to talk about the same, that as application is having identity, managed identity, the agent is going to have the same. And because you are running that, agent is going to check, is it you? You have access to what kind of data, what kind of structures, what kind of tools. So the same paradigm, the same methodology in terms of applying the rules as we have for normal applications, we have for agents. And here, once you know one, meaning that either agentic approach or software development applications, you will know the other ones because it's exactly the same. Okay, so we have, or Fatima, wanna add something or continue?
No,
so,
it's just another application. An application, you have an entity for it. You would be able to access certain services in your system, so you need to manage permissions. Just treat it like another application, and we have frameworks too.
Yes. So we have Copilot that you can use. Later on, you already started to build your natural agents, and you realize that after a while, you have at least 20 agents because we all do a very specific actions, very specific task at our work. And there are very different ways to build the agents. Some of them, it's normal, either low code or pro code. Low code, the building blocks, you just defined, you pick up the model, you define what will happen when. From the other side, the pro code are in a way that you start to define not only the instruction in Markdown, but you start to define the connectors. And now we are connectors to different systems. And you realize that you want to spin up the browser that is doing some clicking or gathering the data from external systems, and so on and so on. And we are landing in a space of MCP servers where you have an agent that is doing lots of different actions, spinning up different tools, different applications, but at the end delivering the same. So what's that? The same application. And at the end, once you have 20 of them, you start to, or your IT is going to ask you the question, as those agents are pretty, how to say it, they can run on your PC if you are not around, meaning that if you click some, there can. If you are authorizing to the websites, you need to put your finger or the password. But if you allowed your agent, you give the right privileges, the agent can run alone. And then there is kind of a risk of what if for sure you did it or your agent. The question.
How it's gonna run in its own? Like if I'm not gonna make a routine, or I'm not gonna make a order, like it's gonna run tomorrow, how it's gonna run its own? My question is, you're saying right now it's gonna run, or the agent gonna do some task or run in its own without my permission or without me asking. I'm asking how.
So let me clarify. I'm very far away that the agent will start to do something on its own, but someone else can take your agent and run on your behalf. Someone else, meaning that someone can steal not your identity, but access to your agent and then start to work on that. So basically, yes, AI is not in a stage of running on its own, but AI is in a stage of having access to the data that you have access to, and you already granted AI to have your privileges. So yeah, give me the control of your agent. And that agent has a name, digital twin of you. And then, because we are in a context of a company, we start to ask the question, okay, so how to govern it? And majority of the corporation, like companies, are exercising the big challenge, which is how to govern all of those agents, which previously have been not identified as applications, but right now we agreed that those are applications. But how to identify them? So first of all, identify, count, because the first step is that's the first step to start the governance process, and then later on how to provide the security aspects. And here we are landing in a beautiful tool that has, again, we started with Copilot, which is like kind of easy. Then there is a Copilot Studio that is allowing you to build the agents. And there are different techniques, for example, like different frameworks, which is, for example, semantic kernel or autogen. So the libraries that are allowing you in a code version to create a few agents talking to each other, chain of debate. So having multiple agents talking to each other, sharing informations, one agent specializing in, for example, predicting the weather, second agent specializing, predicting where we should go for vacations. Yes, possible. But at the end, those tools exist, but now we need to govern them, because we want to govern, to put the security on top of that. Because now we need to put ourselves in the shoes of a person that is in charge of a big corporation here in Doha, which is accountable from the legal, but also any perspective for data leaks. Knowing that in the past, we manage applications. In the past, we provided the governance on the data by putting the policies. And Microsoft Azure was and is helping with that. But right now, because we got those small monsters, agents, which can access a lot, we do not. And that's why we landed in, and with having Agent 365, a tool that has been released month ago as a general available feature, and it's with us for a while. And now we will chat about the agent in a way that in a way of pillars of what we should take into the consideration. Because the talk about the governance and security, the first is governance, then security, is about what we should put into consideration. Meaning that a tool which allow us to identify how many agents will we have in our organization is a great one. But what this tool will give us. And before I will jump into the security pillars, explaining what Copilot and other approaches are doing or not, I would like you to do a exercise of thinking that it's very similar as application development, meaning that we want to provide very similar framework on agents, similar to software development and similar to data governance. We want to apply the same pillars on AI agents, because we have like agents are very like those small monsters who are having access to the structured data and who are behaving as applications. And because of the aspect of having unpredictable results, we want to have a control of those unpredictable results, which we are going to name guard lanes. But now, let's go to the pillars. Pillars which are exactly the same as for apps and for data. First of all, identity and access. Do we know that? What's that? Anyone want to explain? Yeah, what's the identity of the IDEM, like the user or a group of users? Because sometimes, and here think about HR chatbot that you in your places, in the corporations you are working for, you've met. There is one identity for everyone of this chat, but many users who are reusing that. So first, identity. Second, access of the tool. And here, let's go through the three pillars. We're going to have Copilot, which is the most popular. Then an agent that is created in a no-code way, low-code way, full-code way, and then the most advanced. And so here is the kind of a maturity framework for progressing with agentic solutions, starting from Copilot, then building your own agent, no code, low code, full code, and then landing with multiple agents. Does it make sense so far? So from Copilot up to the multi-agents approach. And now going to the pillars, you can see, yeah, I will highlight the most important aspects. Identity and access, super easy in terms of like who can do what. But in terms of the threat protection, take a look what is happening here. If you are using Copilot or no-code declarative agent, there is a built-in governance. Yes, because we are reusing the same Lego blocks. But once you start building the agent with low code and full code approach and higher, take a look at what's happening. You start very quickly to see that the governance part is shared between you and Microsoft, between you and the provider of the technology. What does it mean? Or may I ask a question, maybe like someone will try to catch it. Does this table recall you something?
As a
Yes, exactly.
Platform as a service.
Exactly. So we start with repeating. This is the very similar table to the table when we defined the areas of accountability in the context of the infrastructure as a code, platform, IaaS, PaaS, SaaS, meaning that the different ways of provisioning services on clouds. And let me open that because you will see that there is also the similarity between those two approaches. Because my main point is that whatever we know from software development is the same happening for agentic solutions. Second. Is exactly coming from Microsoft. Shared responsibility in the cloud. SaaS, PaaS, IaaS, on-prem. So kind of sometimes we have vice versa, which is exactly this image. So who is accountable for what? Why it's very important? Because the main aspect of creating the AI-based solution, the main challenge is who is accountable for what. And even though it sounds like a very artificial discussion, majority of the cases where we do not jump into having an AI-based solution with using, for example, computer vision algorithm to define whether there is an object or not. Why it's not happening? Because the main challenge is the answering who is responsible for the final guidance. Whether it's a developer or is a manager or is a president of the company. And as a provider of the cloud, we need to clearly define whether, like as an infrastructure as a code, you go to Azure and you provision a virtual machine. And then on this virtual machine, you can pull or install OpenAI model. Yes. On this virtual machine, you can install OpenAI model and you can provide the solution for your entire company for millions of users who are going to chat with this model. But then we need to chat who is responsible for what. You provision the VM, it's your accountability. But Microsoft is not taking accountability what is happening on the VM because it's your accountability, right? Microsoft is giving you the VM. Versus once you start using Copilot, there is a different discussion. Because you get the end-to-end tool that is serving you the agent, that is serving you the model operating. So this way, this matrix is showing you where the governance is landing. And here there are a few important, to build the full context of the tools that we need. We have a few names of the products. We have Microsoft Purview, and please raise a hand who is familiar with the tool. Okay, one person. Good. We have also Defender. And we have Studio, so Copilot Studio, a way to author the new agents. And other than that, from the most important, that's it. What does it mean? As in the past, applications, software engineering applications usually are interacting with users through network. We needed to start to control the network traffic. In the context of agents, it's happening the same. That's why we needed to put a layer of managing access to those agents because we don't want to expose them in a way that someone else can access it. But in the same way, once we have an agent running in our application, because it's, for example, HR agent that is doing the screening on the candidates or hunting for another person based on the data from LinkedIn, that's the easiest agent that we can create, meaning that agent, we have a model, we have an instruction, we have access to our LinkedIn, and then we start to build the agent that is doing the hunting. We need to also control what it can do or not, what are the data incoming and outcoming. That's why we need to have access to the Defender. So a tool, instead of reinventing the wheel, you have a clear service that is allowing you to get the security from the network, but also from the infra perspective. And on top of that, those agents are usually interacting with some data, meaning that we'll start hunting for the person on LinkedIn and scrapping thousands of different profiles. And we want to save them, right, somewhere. Where? In one lake, in Microsoft Fabric. Let's assume that it's Microsoft Fabric one lake. What does that mean? That agent is going to have access to the specific lakehouse. And once the data are saved there, who is going to have access to this data. And there is one service for managing, for data governance coming from Microsoft, which is is very underestimated, still in a very development mode, even though it's GA for the last few years. It's Microsoft Purview, which is allowing you to control not only Microsoft and Fabric and data world of Microsoft from there, who can access what are the labels provided for your data, if you have some PII's data, if you need to mask something. So it's one aspect, but the second for all your documents. So this service, Microsoft Purview, is defining, and take a look, data protection. Wherever you use here, any Copilot or no-code, low-code, and so on, you need, it's highly recommended to have a Purview because you get the final control. And what is Microsoft M365 agent? Is a control plane, because we create agents with using very different frameworks. Even if you created a agent on premise with LangChain, or you created whatever the framework you used, you can register this agent to the control plane, which is Microsoft Agent 365, and start governing that. So the promise of this tool is being a control plane. And what is the control plane? Let me explain, but before I would like to give you the example. Do you know what's the Databricks? Who knows Databricks? A few people. And Microsoft Fabric as well? Okay, so a control plane in the context of kind of any software that is doing in parallel data processing or job execution in parallel. Control plane is about controlling all of the registered jobs and making sure that they are happening, making sure that they are spinning, and once the job is done, kind of deprecating them, killing them or shutting them up. And the same is happening here. So Agent 365 is about having all of the information about what are the agents running in our organization, created with any framework. So having the knowledge, knowing how many of them we have, then starting to force and control the Entra identity, so Azure Active Directory identity, then knowing, because it's part of Microsoft ecosystem, knowing what are the protection labels, basically who can access what in terms of the if the data are safe or fragile, we can share or not. Then making sure that the DDoS attacks, we don't have to care about the DDoS attacks because we are going to have the Defender, and so on and so on. Long story short, we have Defender, we have Purview, we have Entra, so our identity, and Microsoft Agent 365 is about putting a framework, governance framework, on top of whatever we are doing in our organization. Even though some of the agents we are going to naturally create on premise, but some of them with using of Copilot. And there was a question.
I just want to understand about the Defender. The observability, is it on runtime or is it you're taking it from memory? How is that observability?
It's on runtime.
Okay.
Yes. And now going further here, the biggest beauty of the most important slide for me, which is showing that we are going to have, and for sure, as part of Microsoft and any other companies, they are going to create lots of different frameworks. More and more, for sure, we'll have an agent. I would envision having a specific agent that is writing master, PhD studies, papers, and so on, doing some research. But at the end, if we want to deploy them in organization, we need a way to govern. And this is a central place. So now try to envision in Microsoft Fabric, so a tool that is a gateway for the data world, you have what? OneLake. OneLake is a place where you store your data. And now in Microsoft Fabric, you can also create agents. Once you have a data there, you can create Fabric data agents and start talking with that data through this experience. But now you have the same layer, but for the agents, meaning that Microsoft Azure and Microsoft is building the world of technology with giving you the building blocks. And Agents 365 is going to have a observability, governance, and security aspects and connectors, which will allow you to enable Entra, Defender, Purview, and Intune, and at the end will allow you to connect with all of the existing Microsoft products. So the goal is, it's still under development, but if on top of Microsoft, you will create an agent in any tool, like Fabric, ideally Jenny, Databricks someday in the future, but there should be native connectivity to register this agent, to make this agent observable for these Lego blocks. And the same is with on-premise, with SDK, and so on. Does it make sense so far? Yes, no questions? Okay. Any? Yes. Okay. Jumping in to Foundry Citadel platform. Here, a great repo I would like to show you as please raise a hand if you ever admin or you've ever been inside the Microsoft administration of the tenant. For example, yes. Okay, so I would need to maybe open and show you that, just to show you what's possible, and then we'll go to Foundry Citadel platform, which is a project run and created by Microsoft, which is about putting the governance layer on top of all of the agents. But before I need to log in, give me a second, as I will stop sharing. I need to log into the Defender. Okay, so we continue. So now we are inside. Now we are inside the admin center for for my company, where again it's a central place. As you can see here, is a central place where we are managing everything end to end, meaning that federation for teams is here. Any account settings are here. Purview configuration are here. Everything is here. And now we are getting a new tab. It's the tab for agents. And as you can see, it's a central place looking the same as any other tool, any other feature provided by Microsoft that is allowing you to discover. I've asked you at the beginning of this question, how many agents do you have? So now I have a total agents 560 in my organization. I can manage them, I can stop them. I'm in full control of seeing what is happening in any of them. And now you can tell me how, like, guess Please guess how many people are working in my organization. So I have 560 agents. 150. Yeah, the number should be bigger, but in general, this is the number. But now take a look. Then, and the next step, the next stage of once you have Copilot is the adoption and driving the adoption and making sure that people are using. And because today we are exercising a task of making sure that we can govern and secure the AI adoption, the company we are working for, we need to know if Copilot is used or not. Because if your decision is to buy Copilot licenses, you want them to be used. How to know it? Because of this view. So you can take a look at the Copilot activity, and everything here is visible. So Microsoft is helping with with making the actions, with monitoring, with knowing if the adoption is going in the direction you want to see. And then you can jump in to the agents. And here the typical question is how to know if the agent is used or not, how to stop them, how to list them, what's the platform the agent has been built, what are the risks, how many active users, and so on and so on. So this is one central tool to get the discovery.
So now the most valuable thing in each company is data. So now with Agent 365, so can I control which data can be shared in the agent or not? Because like now in the solution of DLP, data loss prevention, or the mail, I can control which data could be sent or can be viewed for anyone. So no one can share like information of identity or any for payment or anything like because of DLP and mail. So if anyone uses the agent and try to share some of the information that should be classified, should the agent will be detected or no?
Yes, and those are the policies as we are applying the policies on agents. And now, let me show you the example of a policy that you can apply force on an agent. Maybe second, I think I opened that before. I do not have it, but jumping in through the few tabs. So again, is a policy, how to define the policy in the most effective way? Through YAML files. So as part of a YAML, you start to script the policies, who can access what, and then you apply the policy on multiple agents at once. And maybe want to show you the slide. Give me 1 second with that. Foundry. 1 second. Okay, I have it. So this is a toolkit, agent governance toolkit. Please take a look. It's a library. So ideal way, again, as for provisioning the infrastructure, we love Terraform as it's scripting and allowing us to script whatever we need. For the security and the governance, we want the policy to be scripted in a way that we can apply that for millions of agents. As we've seen, we are going to have billions of them. So here, we have a library written in Python that we can define the object where we are defining the tools, and we can define the name of the policy. And the policy is defined as a YAML file with just having a few default rules. and the rules we define for ourselves, and then conditions. So long story short, if you are in charge of the organization and you need to govern the agents for your organization and you have 50,000 of people, the best way is to basically start defining the policies at the beginning just as a markdown, but then later on you transform markdown to the YAML files and you start applying those rules on your agents that you have access, that you can see with using Agent M365. And how it works, take a look at this diagram. So we are going to have the, again, as it's written here, every layer is optional, but we have an agent, which can be, as mentioned, using AutoGen, using Azure Machine Learning. You can create inside this tool an agent with using LLMs from Azure Foundry. It doesn't matter what is the framework or what is the tool or what is the ingredient that you used to build the agent, but at the end, we should start governing them. You should start governing them in the either university or at the work, because later on you want to force the policies that will forbid, for example, here, deny some accesses, deny some identity, and, for example, allowed you to get access to the audit log. So now a question. Imagine you're working for a company A, you build a few agents. One of them is your digital twin, having access to all your Outlook, Teams, and so on, and having access also to your identities from WhatsApp and different accounts. And then you left the company. And this agent was running on your laptop, but also you clone it to run on a VM or some container somewhere else. So then, once you leave, they are forbidding you to access the laptop. So your account is not working. But then, as the agent is leaving, the VM needs to be killed. But no one knows where is it. So because of like building the small monsters without audit trails, we need to be in trouble. Long story short, once we start versioning, listing them, those tools those connections start to work, because again, the main point, agent is yet another type of the software application. And here, one more time, the policy. Good, and the name of the repo and the name of the tool that is simplifying management of all of the agents is Citadel platform, and here is the framework. Well, let me explain that one by one. So let's go back, and we started with having Copilot. We realized that we build own agents, many of them in a company. We need to start governing them, how to govern the tool, the library, the tool that you've seen already, which is having lots of different functionalities to make those agents easy to find, easy to govern, easy to manage, easy to prevent the access to specific data. For us as admins, we can control what is happening inside. It's one part of the layer. It's this part, agent identity, because at the end, it's about uncovering agent 365, uncovering, making sure that we give every agent its own ID. What it means? We treat every agent as application with some identity, managed identity. So it's the stage 3. So gives every agent its own ID with human over and expiry date, finds agents, nobody registered, no badge, not access. So now we were in a stage of IT where some time ago, we could create an app that no one knows about. But right now it's not possible. Our laptops and computers are working in a way that we can do specific things and specific not. Why? Because we don't want to shadow IT. And with Agent 365, we can fully manage agent's identity, but it's not enough. It's not enough. As you can see, we have 4 layers, 4 jobs, just to cover full Microsoft ecosystem. And I will start maybe with the last one, except like agent identity, which we covered, Microsoft Fabric. Microsoft Fabric, a tool, a gateway to all of the data processing exercises in Microsoft that is allowing you to access very different data. And we need to apply the same governance practice for data, for jobs, as for agents as well. So like feel free to do a picture, as this framework is the building block for the Citadel, which is one complex methodology, one complex framework that is allowing you to manage all of the interactions that agents is having with either your identity or with different agents, because there is a concept of agent talking to agents, or with some different MCP servers, or with some different databases. Because at the end, and there is a slide I just skipped, which is this slide. Agents are not about deploying yet another application in a nutshell, but are about deploying or hiring a new kind of employee. And that's why the job of the soon future is going to be named AI manager, who is a person who is managing AI agents, who are just built to do the specific actions. So even though agents are applications, the way how we put the governance on top of that are a little more different. We need to put more in terms of the governance. Now, when you build the agent, how to make sure that the results that agent is returning are correct ones? Do you have any ideas?
Yeah.
So, and maybe here, let's go back to the definition of an agent. We want to build an agent, agentic solution as part of Microsoft platform. And we know how to govern. So we know how to discover the identity of an agent. We know how to govern. Now you need to make sure that the results that agent is returning are correct ones. Let's assume that we are building an agent that is helping radiologists to build the treatment plan for the patient.
Agent to review the result of the first one.
So the answer is how to make sure the quality, so that we are sure that the results are good. And the answer is that we make another agent that will challenge the first one. But what if the second one is hallucinating?
Pipeline.
A pipeline of agents. Who will pay for it?
The company.
A company, yes. We like it. We are for it. Yes, this is the beautiful. Exactly. This what you are sharing is the architecture name chain of debate. The typical architecture. I remember I was showing that when we, for example, for the healthcare scenarios, you can't have a one agent. You are going to have a few agents, each of them specializing, like microservices, each of them specializing in a specific domain. Because of that, because of the specialization, the quality is going to be higher. And they are going to talk. How they are going to talk? With using AutoGen, for example.
If you have a budget, you can just make a strict rules that after you finish, you have to check this, and after you check it again. After you check it again. The same agent.
So checking against the agent, so a loop. So a loop that is making sure that before I return the final, I as an agent return the final answer, I'm challenging myself. Yes, it's one of the ways, which is a good one. I would challenge the instructions, which is the simplest one, but never, like, maybe underestimate guard lanes. Have you ever heard guard lanes? Meaning that we put the boundaries in our favorite programming language, means Markdown and Excel. We put the guard lanes, what can happen when. And now the question to you, how often do you set the guard lanes? Fatima, how often do you set the guard lanes?
You need to act from the get-go, right? Make sure that the system performs as expected.
Yes.
And you can also utilize if you go with something like handlers, out of box partners already available.
Yes. Exactly. So guidelines are going.
Who's gonna put the guidelines?
A person who author. So who will put the guidelines? Who should put the guidelines? You as an engineer or your admin? The reality is that I encourage you to always you put it, because then also, and this is going to be the ending like kind of a thought, that right now we are in a business of creating those agents who are going to act on our behalf. Right now we are having some sentiment towards AI and towards those agents, and this sentiment is about trust. Once there is a new model coming from OpenAI or Anthropic, do we trust to the quality of this model more or less? More, because it's retrained, new data, right? So we trust more, we allowed for more, and we allowed this model to, this agent to run on our behalf. But what if this model will make a mistake? How many times have you ever pushed a code or an email or some part of the text that you took from AI without reading it? Raise a hand. Yes. Yes, of course. And so we are in exercise of like landing on a trust, that we trust technology, but then later on we publish, push what technology is suggesting us. And testing is super fundamental, and testing, we can say that it's kind of a guidelines for running data production. But the point I want to go with this chain of thought, by the way, chain of thought is a concept of how LLMs are also thinking. But with my chain of thought is that we are starting from trust to technology, and technology is doing the agents are doing the work for us, and we are ending in a place where the most important asset that we are going to value is reputation. Because if, for example, Deloitte published once a report with lots of hallucinations, or as a scientist, if I ever publish an article with hallucinated paper, it's like, what's my reputation? So the point here is that the adoption of and how to like deploy, and again, we'll go this to this, that. How to ship agentic AI without you losing control. Yes.
Shipping is about reputation that you was mentioning. Like if I am a scientist, how I can push some article without hurting my reputation? Yeah.
Exactly. As a scientist, as a researcher, as a programmer, as a content provider, as a person that is working in a place. How, yes, we use AI, we rely on AI. Sometimes we are in such a rush that we may not read every line, and then we may publish something accidentally that can hurt our reputation, and reputation is going to be the value of the future. And if we use AI, let's claim we use AI. If not, no.
Agreed. But is it always about the person who asked the AI to write the article, or is about the AI that makes the articles? Because maybe you can have a goal. I have the same goal. You have a task. I have the same task. You have output. I have a different output, but we have the same task. You got it? So it's not always about the AI. It's also about the person who prompted to the AI.
Yes, but as an engineer, I'm trying just to think that we can solve every technical problems with technical solution. But yes, fully agree. Fully agree. But the main point is that how to ship agentic AI without losing control. You've seen what is the definition of the agent. I can paraphrase that: how to ship application without losing control. We have at least 30 years of experience of shipping applications, of building online shops, of building online empires, and the same techniques we are applying for agents. It's starting with the discovery, with the governance, with defining the accountability, with defining the access logs, audit logs, and with defining what the agent can do. And here, again, as a person that built the digital twin for myself and can show you my digital twin that is hopefully soon I will be not needed in the company I'm building because I will have an agent that I
Cloned yourself?
Yes, I cloned myself. This is the repo. For example, here, showing you how I'm running that. For example, yeah, some articles. Maybe show you not all of the customers, but decks, for example, Fabric migration deck, for example, here. So as you can see, I cloned myself in a way that I'm using VS Code, the great product coming from Microsoft. Then I've started to here. I have the two aspects, two elements. One is the GitHub Copilot. The second, if I'm running out of the tokens, I have a Clot. So lots of tokens, lots of ability to chat with all of my files. All of the files, as you can see here, are sorted, categorized through everything, meaning that all of the transcriptions are here, all of the decks are here, all of the files are here, because then once I gathered the data, I started to build the agent, which is LLM. But what is the most important? Guard lanes, what it can do and what it cannot. How to define it as a markdown, as a definition of markdown definition of what to do when and what are the cases that you cannot touch. And this is my digital twin. And now, yeah, going here. And now, what's the moment when I can go on vacation and no one will realize? When I will provide an agent, or I will build an agent with using Copilot Studio, for example, or for example, AutoGen, which will have access to my VS Code and to this repo, which will have access to the very clearly defined guard lanes, how and what to answer to my style, and I will connect that to the teams, and that's it. Because this is what my knowledge base. Because under this repo, I have also MCP server that is having access to my Outlook. So what do I need? I have Outlook, I have files, I have Teams. I have my style, guard lanes, instructions, and I can go on vacation. Thank you so much.
We have time for a couple of questions, and then we can.
Yeah, I prepared 30 questions for you.
Oh, you can ask them.
No, some of them yes, but some of them no.
Okay. Any questions from the audience, or should we ask? Yes. What's your name? Go ahead.
How you manage 560 agent, and it is a lot of main agent and have sub agent or only agents that work like multi-agent?
Okay, great question. So as of now, I bet that at this point in time, those 560 agents are not multi-agents, are single agents created with Copilot Studio. How do I govern them?
So how you manage them?
How I manage them? I'm in a stage of, first of all, discovering them. That's my first stage. Secondly, here there is a debate that I would like to share it with you. We are living in a super fast-paced world where once there is a model announced by whatever the company, the next day we all want to jump in and adopt. Now, we are working for very different organizations. So here, take my answer as there are always two sides. For me, more important is to skill all of the people in the organization I'm building to be aware of the framework, what is agent, how to manage them, how not to allow and give all the privileges to the agent, what are the risks. This is more important for me than so their education is more important for me than managing their agents. Because me as a central admin IT person, I may not envision and imagine a scenario when someone super clever will come up with an idea for an agent which I will block. So for a small organization that I'm building, giving people the knowledge, end-to-end knowledge, and giving the trust that they know what they do, I just need to govern them in a way to know. And it's about government, not management, meaning that I know how many and I can shut the agent down. But in a context of organization of 50,000 of people, I can't imagine this exercise because teaching and educating about agents will take ages. So in this scenario, you need to manage them how with using Agent M365.
Manage to read one and relate with them, or only make some agent or a big agent, main agent related with smaller than them.
I see. So you are talking about inheritance of the agents, meaning that for the organization, you create the blueprint of an agent, and then the others can clone the agents and adjust it, something like that?
Like that. When I work, when I read from 3 agents and related with them, I feel a struggle. So how you manage or speak with 10 or 20 agents and related with them?
So typical, I'm thinking about some slide. So usually,
Yeah, I was want to say him. It basically, I was answering about his question. It's basically a main agent, and you're talking directly to the main agent, and this main agent understand your task and just hire another sub agent or another agent to work with him. Or if you have some agent in your mind you wanted to active, like some agent for research, you know his name, you can mention it to the main agent and let him activate this agent. So it's basically talking with the main agent,
yes.
to talking with another sub agent, like the director with the employee.
So
The CEO not going to talk with all the employee, he's just going to talk with the.
I would put here API connectors or any other connectors, because you need a protocol to talk to those agents. So network way to talk to those agents. But I will answer you with a way. You have a corporate laptop, or like, is it your private or company? Private. Okay. So let's assume that like private, you are accountable for. So here a clear area responsibilities. But if you work somewhere, you get a machine, and then who is patching that machine for you? Let's assume that you have Windows. On this Windows, you have Windows subsystem for Linux, and you have a Linux which you need for your work. And the Linux image is coming from your central IT. So who is accountable for patching, for upgrading, for configuring that Linux? So you are doing something within the privileges, but usually there is a person or the command named sudo. So in the same way as you were explaining that there is always a main agent, think about like we need to have kind of a sudo for those agents. It can be a main agent or some script, because it doesn't have to be agent. Agent is an app, but we can say that it's an app. It's an agent, but there is a main agent that has some sudo privileges. And because of that, we need the identity management, and your local agent needs to allow the sudo agent to access to. But there is always some sudo, so sudo privileges.
Yes, Robin?
I just want to understand from your perspective, when the guardrails, which you said, right? When any of those guardrails fail, like what is the perspective? Say on runtime, on anything, the guardrails fail because there are many agents.
Yes, this is kind of a risk that all of the guidelines may fail and we can iterate them more and more. But at the end, here, I would challenge, like for me, there is OC layer a model from like very primer. So for me, the network layer is the last layer where I can catch the things I don't want to before it's going back. So if I would check, I would put the guidelines and then some filtering on the network level, as there are services who are filtering the content that we don't want to have access to. I would check it there. At the same time, I would try to also envision like the machine and deep learning, which are still doing pretty well also with the text, meaning that having a classifier based on the normal deep neural networks for the text, NLP's model, which is doing the classification and based on the probability filtering or not. Fatima, like what's that, like, would you agree or?
Sorry.
Yeah, I would create a pipeline. Yes. Fail. And then we can catch on the network as a final step. We can add more bound guidelines from the framework perspective, but at the end we can catch on the network level. And if not, we should go. And this is always the debate, meaning that should I have a single model or multiple ones? And multiple ones, we are talking about the pipelines of the models. And no one said that all of them must be LLMs. One of them can be classifier based on ML or like based on the neural network. So I would put it.
Just to add, in terms of if you're using like Microsoft Agent Framework or Foundry, we do have something called the Foundry control plane, which sort of shows you like a dashboard that like if it missed some of the responses and it didn't protect it or it wasn't efficient, so that you can adjust it. Think of it just like when you're forget about AI. Just imagine like you're securing your environment and you have like some sort of antivirus or some protection layer. It doesn't always go through. Sometimes it passes. So you detect that after that, and then you know what guardrails you need to fix in order to prevent it from happening again. So it's an iterative process. Yeah. Should we go into you asking them questions? But I just have one question from my side. What are your thoughts in terms of like, you talked about like onboarding an agent. What about decommissioning an agent? What are some things to keep in mind there, or some like best practices? Decommissioning agent, like the agent is no longer needed, or just like, when as an employee, because you mentioned agents are like an employee. So just like how you have an onboarding process for an employee, you also have an offboarding process. Like let's say they move teams or they leave the company. How do you make sure that that's the same for agents?
Love the question. Before I answer, I would put a few more constraints, meaning that once we have agent, there is always a knowledge base because we go through model, instructions, and other pillars. Many times once we have agent, we want to update it. So we are talking about agent development lifecycle, which needs to be defined, meaning that, yes, there are, for sure, you will see soon, someday, lots of frameworks for it, but we are going to update. We are changing the models, but we also want to update the instructions. We should have the registry from instructions, and so on and so on. But for decommissioning, I would say that it's the same as with machine and deep learning algorithms. So there is a concept of model data drift detection, meaning that we want to monitor what's the accuracy, accuracy, but also performance. What are the different telemetry-based metrics coming for this agent? As we monitor every virtual machine from the network perspective, we can observe, does it work or not? So take a look. Again, this is a normal application or super normal application, meaning that we want to observe the telemetry coming from agents. We want to observe if it's used, how it's used. We want to get, again, no one is going to read it, but we want to get the indicators. how well the agent is functioning. Every agent, because it's an app, we should have an indicator of thumb up or down, whether users are satisfied or not. So also checking the sentiment of people who are using it, because in the end, we are not building an agent for one person usually, but for the group of people who are reusing them. So observing the usage, observing the accuracy, and at the end, having an ability to update, because many times we don't need to decommission the agent. We can change its purpose, or we can change the access, maybe pointing to a different data, maybe changing the model behind. So changing the parameters. Because when why we want to decommission the agent, if the agent is my digital twin, maybe yes, but then I would reconsider that many times we don't have to throw away the work that we did. We may have a registering that and thinking about how I can reuse it, or how I can combine one agent to the other and make the multi-agentic platform.
I think some question, and then let's go with questions.
So I want to add to the question of Fatima, when she asked about the decommissioning of the agents. Okay, I want to decommission the agent because I'm leaving the company and I don't want anyone else to access my agent because I
Yes.
want someone else to get my work.
Beautiful.
Of what I have created.
Yes.
Okay, and I want to take this one outside without breaching the policies of the company.
Yes.
So how can I handle such a case?
Like, it's a beautiful case. We are talking like about Black Mirror scenarios, but if you imagine any movie when, for example, someone is fired and the person, especially in US, they are taking a box, putting their things, the pictures from of the family and other stuff, and the same day they are leaving the office. Right now, before we will do that, we need to think about, oh my God, it's in your best business to shut down your digital twin and your agent.
Yeah.
So it's your accountability, because the company can forget about it. There may be some gaps in the processes. Also, here was a question about guidelines. What if the guidelines will not work? Is software development, every application having 100% accuracy? No, there are errors. That's why we have a job. That's why it's in our best interest to make sure that we will decommission those agents, or we'll at least request to decommission those agents if you provided the access to the different your personal systems. So it's a very completely game-changing approach towards how we share the things in terms of the files and in terms of the data. Yes, questions? No, let's put a number.
Please, raise your hand, and then Dr. will shoot you, and then you walk away with a reusable coffee tumbler. All right.
Oh my God, this is the most challenging. So let's choose what's the agent? 365, yes. I put the answer. Yeah, sorry. Yes.
Do it again.